We are going to talk today about inclusion. Hooray for inclusion. But first, I want to say a thank you to Heather for decorating my little corner of the universe here. You may notice that there's a couple of little indicators that we're in fall, and beautiful oranges and golds and just the great colors and feelings of fall. So thank you for that, and happy fall to everyone. So inclusion. It's okay if the word inclusion, when I say, hey, we're going to talk about inclusion today, if internally you have a little bit of a groan. That's quite all right. And I kind of feel that way too sometimes, because inclusion is often talking about things that I don't think that I have a problem with. I think that I'm a loving and inclusive person, and I'm open to all kinds of different people. And I don't think inclusion is a personal problem of mine, but it's not just about being marginalized and being in a marginalized group. Every person on the planet today has experienced inclusion, and they've experienced exclusion. So what is inclusion anyway? The first definition that comes up for inclusion is very basic and broad. It is the act or state of including or being included within a group or structure. Very basic. The second definition, and this is the definition that comes up today. This is the definition that we're working with today. Most of the time when you hear inclusion, this is what is meant. Definition number 2 is the practice or policy of providing equal access to opportunities and resources for people who might not otherwise be, or people who might otherwise be excluded or marginalized, such as those who have physical or mental disabilities and members of other minority groups. So definition number 2 is very important to talk about, so that we can make sure that we're acknowledging everyone. But today I want to look at inclusion from a little bit broader perspective, because definition 2 still is a little exclusive in that it applies that there is a marginalized group and there is a group that is not marginalized. And the not marginalized group needs to be educated about the existence and the concerns of the marginalized groups. So we have still separation in that. And I want to get us away from that separation and let us know that we are all marginalized, okay? No matter who we are, we have all felt marginalized before. We have felt excluded. And we have all, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and say most of us have had the opportunity to exclude someone else. A new member of your group, someone that you see not doing something that you agree with, exclude them, push them out of our circle. We've all had this experience. And as I said before, no matter who you are, no matter your race, creed, color, sexual orientation, you have experienced inclusion and exclusion in your life. One of my first experiences with exclusion came when I was a small child. And when I was a kid, we traveled outside. We didn't have any Black churches in our neighborhood. So we had to travel, because I grew up in West Sac, in the Broadrick part of West Sac. We didn't have any Black churches there. So what we did was my mom drove us into North Highlands, and we went to, and they have several Black churches there because there are just more Black people. And so we drove to North Highlands, and that's where we went to church every Sunday. And I distinctly remember going into a new church, meeting a bunch of kids, and immediately having problems and being excluded. Why? Because of how I talk. A teacher I had one time described this pretty well and said that my voice lacks ethnicity. That is a way of saying that I don't sound Black. And I'm not offended by this. I'm not offended by it. This is just the way I sound. This is the town that I grew up in, and my friends and everything. This is how we talk. And this is how I wound up talking. And my mom was a stickler for English. If I said, "Oh, Mom, I ain't got that." Oh, God, as soon as I said ain't, whoop, she wouldn't hit me for that. but I would be corrected very quickly. So I knew that I could not let my English slip with my mom. And so we had that combined with the fact of where we were living. It all culminates into the wonderful person that you see before you today. But the way that I sounded wasn't an effort of me to try not to sound Black or to try to sound white or to do anything like that. I just was me. I just am me. And all I wanted was to be included as a child. But I got labeled, "Oh, you're trying to be Black," or sorry, "Oh, you're trying to be white, and look at you, how you talk." And it was an obstacle. It was a barrier for me to connect to other Black people. Okay, I'm not talking about going to some event and there's all white people and I feel, excluded. I'm talking about an all Black event. There weren't any white people around and I was still excluded. You see? So this can happen anywhere amongst any kind of people. We all have felt excluded before. And that's how exclusion works. It is very, very easy to look at someone, see a difference, and then use that difference to decide that that person doesn't matter. That person speaks differently than I do. I can disregard them. I can push those guys out of the circle. I know what they're trying to do, and they're out. This person looks differently than me. This person dresses differently. This person dates people differently than I would. There are a million different reasons. There are countless reasons that we can go and look and find reasons to exclude someone from the group. But that's the bad news. It's really easy to do. The good news is it's just as easy to find something that's familiar in another person and to latch onto that and to use that as an excuse for inclusion. And we can find a familiarity in places that we wouldn't even imagine. Most of you know that I've been in a blues band, that I've played in a blues band for several years, for over a decade. We played all over the place. And there's one thing about blues. If you are playing in a blues band, then you will invariably play for bikers. You are going to play for bikers. You're going to play in a biker event. You're going to play in a place that bikers frequent. You are going to come into contact with bikers, not cyclists. I saw Barry's out there. Barry's an avid cyclist. He's like, cyclists are okay. But no, not cyclists. I'm talking about motorcycle bikers. And the ones right from Central Casting, the long beards, the jean vests and the whole thing, the Harleys and all of that. And I remember one of my first gigs and arriving at a biker bar. We were going to play a poker run where it's a thing where all the bikers get together and then they ride to someplace far away, all together, masked up. And this was the end of that ride, and we were the entertainment for the end of the ride. So I had to park a ways away because the parking lot is filled with motorcycles. And the place is packed. I'm going in there, I'm carrying my amp and my harmonicas and everything, and I'm microphones, and I'm getting shuffled into the door. As I'm walking through the parking lot, I'm passing these bikes, and I notice, oh, that's a cool bike. That's cool. Oh, that was expensive to do all those modifications. And then as I'm walking along saying, oh yeah, that's a really nice. What's that? It was a swastika. To my horror, swastika. Gee, what is this? Maybe that was just an off chance. And so I start looking at the other ones, and now I'm looking. I'm looking for all symbols and insignia, racist insignia. And as I'm walking, another swastika, another swastika. Oh, that's a double lightning bolt there. I know what that means. Oh, that's a white pride. Oh, wow, that's really over the top. And there were a lot of bikes that had those kinds of insignia. So as I'm walking up, I'm getting more and more nervous. And I'm getting more and more upset. And I dare say a little angry and obstinate. I'm not going to play for these people. I'm not going to entertain these racists. I'm not going to share a deep part of myself, which is what you do as a performer. You're opening up your heart and you're sharing what you got. I'm not going to do that for a bunch of racists. So I go ahead on inside, and my bandmates are there setting up their equipment. And I'm setting up and I'm trying to reconcile this because I don't want to perform. Even though I'm putting all my stuff together, I'm acting like I'm going to, I still have a great deal of trepidation about performing in front of many Nazis, many white supremacists, many people that want to exclude me from existence. And you know what? If they want to exclude me, I exclude them right back. And I'm not going to share my gift with them. But then there's a job to do. I am a professional. I did sign up for this, right? I'm there to fulfill a contract. My bandmates, we're all getting paid. I have to figure out somehow within me a way to do this gig. And in searching for that, I realized a couple of things. A couple of very interesting things as I'm searching for a way to do this gig. Thing number one that I realized, and it was 4 things that I realized. The first thing that I realized is I never know who I'm performing for anyway. I don't know how many racists that I perform for. I don't know how many, liars, thieves, criminals. I don't know who I perform for over the years. Over the 15 years of performing, I have probably performed for many people that I would disagree with even more than these people that are assembled in front of me that have so graciously informed me of a major part of their life and how they feel. So I just never know anyway. So I'm always going in there blind, thinking that I'm just performing and I'm just sharing of myself. And it doesn't matter what the audience is. It doesn't matter. So that's the first thing that I realized. It started to give me some calm. It's like, okay, all right, I never know who I'm performing for. Just because I know it doesn't change anything. Number 2, bikers love and respect music. Music runs is a cord that runs through their lives, just like most of us, most of the rest of us. But bikers, music and bikers are synonymous. Okay, they love music and they clearly love music. So that's something interesting. Maybe there's something more there that we can build on. And there is. That leads me to number 3. Bikers love the blues. They love it. Any biker event, you're going to hear blues, you're going to hear rock and roll. You're going to hear some country, which is derived from blues. Rock and roll is derived from blues. There wouldn't be those other forms of music if it wasn't for blues. And bikers love blues. It just so happens that blues is a form of music that was created by Black people. And I find this amusing. They are in love with an art form created by Black people. So that brings me to my 4th realization, which is really a decision. I chose to meet them where they were. I chose to meet them to find a familiarity in them and latch onto it. And it's this love of music and it's this love of blues that I latched onto. And it's like, well, geez, you know what? It doesn't matter who I am. It's just like I'm a record on a record player. It doesn't matter. I'm producing good music. And so that's where our connection is. So we played the gig. Actually, I was excited. I started to get excited playing the gig because I know I'm going to be playing in front of people that really appreciate the music that we're playing. It started to fade a little bit, the swastikas that I was seeing. I was like, oh, okay, I can put those aside. And I can put aside the guy I just saw walk in with a big red SS on his t-shirt. Just when I start to feel comfortable about the gig, somebody walks in with a big giant SS on his t-shirt. Hilarious. But we do the gig. We knock them dead. We do a very good job. We have them dancing, we have them singing, we have them, it's just a great gig. It's one of those gigs that's like, yeah, we really did well. And so many of those bikers came up to me afterward, kind of starstruck. They really appreciated the show and they came up to tell us how much they appreciated the show. And they came up, they shook our hands and they were like, they were talking to us. And these were guys that I would see, they would have a swastika tattooed on their neck. And he came up to me to tell me how much he enjoyed the show. It's just like, just like he forgot why he put that swastika there and what it represents. But there was more to him than that swastika. There was more to him than the rhetoric that is on his bike. The more is the love. We met on a field of love. And we found that there's no difference between us. We appreciated the same music. We shared a love. And this is someone that I immediately would have written off and excluded if I didn't have a gig there, if I wasn't forced to try to figure out a way to deal with the situation that I was dealing with, I would have just left. If I'd shown up and I see a row of racist motorcycles there, that is my indicator that I need to turn around and leave. And you know, it's if you're Black in America, that is the symbol. That is the sign that shows you you are not welcome, you are not included, you need to be someplace else. I thought. But even that rule has an exception. So we may need to look a little deeper. We may need to dig a little bit deeper to find that familiarity, to find that commonplace. Sometimes where we have to go is going to source first, going right to God, and knowing that regardless of any condition, regardless of anything, there is one, and that's God. And we are all within God, created by God, equal under God. So if we can't find any familiarity, we can't dig out and find something that we can latch onto, we can latch onto our practice of oneness, to the truth that we are all included, and exclusion is just a figment of our imaginations. The truth is, we are all one. For our homework today, I want to share a poem with you, and this is one of my favorite poems by Rumi, and it's a very short poem, and it's called Out Beyond Ideas. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down on that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. Our homework today is to visit Rumi's field, is to visit that field, that place within you, that there's no wrongdoing, there's no right doing, there's no conditions, there's nothing but your beautiful self. And from that place, know that there is no difference between your beautiful self, the beautiful self that you are, and all of the other beautiful selves on the planet. There is a field beyond condition, and we can go there, and we can understand that we are part of everything, and that exclusion is just an illusion, and inclusion is a divine principle. Let yourself revel in that. And remember, if we want to live in truth, in the truth of inclusion, then there is a part of you in everyone. It's there, it's real. And even someone that you can't particularly agree with, in this example of the biker bar, even when confronted with something as just, I want to put it so many names on it, but I'll just call it opposed, in a viewpoint that is so opposed to our own. Even people that have opposing viewpoints, no matter what they are still people. And they're still included in the one. So as we work on this, we're going to encounter things. We're going to encounter that second definition of inclusion, and we're going to be encountering different people, and we're going to have the opportunity to include. We're going to have the opportunity to find ourselves in other people. And that opportunity is going to be everywhere you look. And don't be afraid to include. Don't be afraid to ask a question. Don't be afraid to regard someone as important that you may not have regarded as important before. Seek to meet everyone on that field first. And know that you're together, and go into every relationship, go into every interaction with every person, knowing your divine connection. Thank you.